The Finals is a free-to-play, team-based shooter that takes destruction and combat to the next level. Their Season 6 update launched today, bringing new content, but more importantly, a large update to the foundations of the game, continuing their ongoing vision to consistently enhance the gameplay experience. With new weapons, returning modes, with additional maps, and some reworks to maps overall, and even more like their road to esports with a $100,000 major tournament coming down the road in the next few seasons, Season 6 brought along a lot worth discussing. If you haven't jumped into the game recently at all, you should, especially if you've got the itch for a shooter that doesn't adhere to the gameplay formula as so many other titles out there. Embark Studios, the developer behind the madness that is the Finals, invited me to an early capture session last week to see what it was all about, and were kind enough to sponsor this video. So if you haven't checked it out in a while, check the link in the description below to download the game. As we go along, drop your thoughts, drop a like, and make sure to subscribe for more. But for now, let's take a look at what all's new in the Finals Season 6. Let's start on the content side of things here. The first sort of overarching piece of content here that will affect your season at large are the sponsors. This season we have Alpha Acta, offering a peace of mind through superior firepower, ensuring you're always prepared for the unexpected. And Gmo with cutting-edge entangled photon technology, ensuring every signal is delivered instantly, securely, and without obvious interference. And finally, Ospews. One sip of Ospews and the world moves slower, your thoughts get sharper, the impossibles start to feel easy. Stay juiced, stay ahead. So obviously, as always, these sponsors are entirely up to your choice of preference. But as with prior seasons, you do have to consider that by signing with a sponsor, you sign with them for the entire season. And sponsorship loyalty can be a thing if you sign with the same sponsor season over season. That'll introduce a seasonal loyalty tier of rewards. Personally, I think I'm signing with Ospews because that ARN 220 skin at the end of the progression track is just, that thing's hot. If we're going off of just skin looks, I think that's number 1, and Gmo number 2, and then Alpha Act as number 3. But again, entirely dependent upon your own preference. But that said, we just mentioned the ARN 220. Let's talk about the weapons coming with the new season here. For Season 6, we have the ARN 220 rifle for the light class, the CB01 repeater, which is a lever action for the medium class, and the M134 minigun for the heavy class. So breaking these down a little bit more, the ARN 220 for the light class. As a main rifle player for most FPS games that I play, I want to love this one, but I think it's best suited for light enemies, team shots, or just incredibly accurate shots. There's a severe lack of ammunition per magazine. You only have 30 rounds per mag, so that really sets it apart. Obviously, that starts to become problematic in the reload department if you, 1, miss shots, 2, encounter enemies with a large amount of health, or a combination of those, which if you're like me, it's probably going to be a combination of those problems. Overall though, it was a really fun rifle to play with for mobility, and again, if you are accurate, it is a great bit of fun that can work in your favor. The lever action CB01 repeater, this is something that I felt was a little bit of a novelty, but for accurate shots out there, can absolutely be a pretty big powerhouse for this, where if you're good with those snaps, you're good with your aiming, this thing's insanely powerful. But you do have to be accurate for it to be worth your while. Coming back for the first time in a little bit, I wasn't that. So I'm stoked to jump back in and grind out the start of Season 6 here to get my bearings and then hopefully start to dominate with it. It's a fun new option for sure. And then the M134 minigun with 200 rounds each. The biggest crutch for this thing is the air quote charge times. Getting that gun spinning, you have a second or two delay, which if you run into an enemy in close quarters can be the death of you. If you have that puppy spinning already, you'll take gunfights at the same time, and if you're not at range, you're going to be hard pressed to lose those gunfights. That's what also should be noted, is that if you're in close quarters as a heavy, 350 HP and a 200 round minigun, it's a powerhouse. I didn't play that combo in Power Shift, but I do think that would be a winning formula for you. Heavy, definitely obviously the move for Power Shift if you are playing the objective, but lots of fun with that. Might be a bit frustrating if you hit fire at a distance where that gets out of control, but the new weapons were a lot of fun to play around with. We did see new map adjustments, so this season, they were focused more on foundational changes and adjustments to the Finals, and while it's not necessarily a brand new map, there was a pretty big rework on thematics for Las Vegas and cleaning up a lot of those spaces. This kind of encouraging and being better for the competitive style of play for your more casual modes. It may seem like a downgrade because they are kind of removing a bit of that aesthetic, but they make it a bit more sort of futuristic here and fitting the themes of each of the sponsors that we have for this season. Opening up lines of sight a bit more, making entry and exit points more visible, and other design elements along those lines. We also saw a few mode adjustments here where Team Deathmatch returns as a permanent mode. Honestly, I can really get behind this one. While I think the existing modes of Cash Out, Bank It, and all were great, there's something about a Team Deathmatch that's just so I guess you could say casual, if you know what I mean. Like, I think TDM is probably the most broadly appealing mode for anybody that plays a first-person shooter that wants to just experience the visual beauty of the finals, the destruction that it has on offer that in recent years is, I think, rivaled by no game, and the smooth experience in the gunplay and movement that it can afford. So just simply jumping in and playing a team deathmatch, I think, can scratch the itch of anyone looking for something else to play in a shooter. So I'm very happy to hear that this isn't just a limited time mode at this point, but instead it's going to be permanent from Season 6 onward. This is now expanding also to a various number of maps: Skyway Stadium, Horizon, Seoul, Fortune Stadium, Kyoto, and Las Vegas Stadium, so that's nice as well. Power Shift is also expanding to more maps, this now being available on Bernal and Las Vegas Stadium. Personally speaking, I think Power Shift is one of my favorite modes since it was introduced. I want to say it was like last April or something like that, but it is now nice to have more play spaces along with this. Of course, you do have the new Battle Pass that comes along with every single season. Don't want to stay too long on that. I want to talk more about the foundational updates and adjustments to the finals. So let's talk firstly about the improved core experience. They describe this as not being the flashiest of announcements, but it makes the game better for everyone. Season 6 starts to roll out a complete overhaul of underlying systems within the finals, where weapons and gadgets make gameplay smoother, fairer, and more reliable. But this isn't the end. There's going to be consistent improvements going out over time with rigorous testing and evaluation. Additional things you may notice immediately come down to some practice range adjustments with improved dummies with better movement and interaction support for more weapons and abilities. It's definitely nice. Then you start to move over into your casual and World Tour adjustments here. The World Tour is returning with weekly events and new sponsors. There's going to be timed events coming in Season 6 throughout the lifespan of that season. There'll also be seasonal progression to all quick play modes. This will now have progression and rewards similar to, again, the World Tour's badge system. So that'll be fun to grind out and rank up through, I think. Competitive and ranked, you're going to start to see a lot of future proofing here for what we can see in the upcoming months for the finals. There's new ranked leaderboards and adjustments coming in Season 6. Reimbursement features are on the way. A streamer mode is being added here with the ability to hide usernames and to add matchmaking delays. Something that I really think is a nice added benefit to a streamer mode that a lot of games do offer, but while a small number of players may actually be getting Q-sniped, it's nice to have that option no matter what. One also really cool thing is they enhanced private matches with admin and spectator controls for matches. And again, that's really big when you start to consider the larger picture here and what they're going to be accomplishing in the upcoming months. But before we get to that, there also were some adjustments to customization and, as they dubbed, self-expression. There's a store overhaul. There's now new body type variants for further customization, with heavy being the first one rolled out there. There's loadout creation for more intuitive control on how you play the game, and custom outfits. So you can save custom outfits and make them applicable to any character at that point, which is definitely pretty cool. Now, finally, future plans were the last thing that Embarked detailed for us, where this they dubbed the road to esports in the finals. They said the finals will lay the foundation for its esports ecosystem, integrating tools for organizing, casting, and spectating matches, some of which will be live this Season 6 update. So this, again, is all to lay the foundations for Season 7 for a time frame they gave of June 12th, that being dubbed the countdown, and then sometime in September, Season 8 game time. This will end up having the first ever major in Season 8. This is going to be huge for competitive players, both in real life and in the lore of the finals being integrated into it. I mean, how perfect is that? Having an esport in a sort of meta esport commentary where the entire game of the finals is a game show. So all of this is to not only just keep giving content and more things to keep the game fresh, but also to lay the foundations for the future upcoming later this summer, it seems like, as a tentative time frame for this. So honestly, I definitely think you should check out Season 6 here, jumping back in. I hadn't played the finals since the beginning of Season 5, but jumping back, it was definitely something that was, it's so fresh, it's so fun, and it's definitely something that is just such a fun deviation from a lot of the FPS games we have on the market currently. You have a bunch of tactical shooters, you have a bunch of stuff that, like Call of Duty, may be stale to you at this point, but I feel like every single season brings me back for the finals where it's just something fresh and new. There's just nothing like the formula of the finals out there right now, and that's just the beautiful part of it. So again, you add in things like Team Deathmatch now if you don't really care for the other modes of Cash Out and all that kind of stuff. They're main modes. You have stuff that you can just go in and play around with regularly now as just a regular game mode. So my recommendation, give it a shot. It was a lot of fun to play this early. I think you will enjoy it, and it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to seeing the future and following what's going to be happening here for the finals in the next couple of months. So that is where we're going to wrap it up. That is Season 6 and what you should know about here as of this update. So drop your thoughts down below, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe again to stay up to date with all things the finals and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. And once again, a big thank you to Embark for sponsoring this video. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you out there. Take care and peace.